Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay. Hello, Taterbug. Nice to see you. Hello, Marina, Ruth Lang, Betty Clark, Murder by Maestro. Just us chickens in here today. But I do think it's important to say, I think someone has to say it. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Ruth. Scorpion. Moon Gal. Someone has to say it. That Karen Reed keeps on winning and winning and winning. And unless you understand innocence fraud, it all looks sort of bizarre, right? This is our legal system set on his head. Murderers are now innocent victims, and victims are totally forgotten. That is the theme of every innocence fraud campaign. Just whitewash over the evidence or paint the evidence in broad strokes, forget the details that really have the fabric and the fabric of guilt. I'm going to be talking about this with Amanda Knox soon, too. Been thinking about that case a lot. But unless you've been through it, it all looks sort of bizarre. That Karen Reed has now got a book advance. She's cleaning up with a book, very much like Amanda Knox did. And she's signed up to make a movie out of her life. Just a little remembrance past. There was a made-for-TV movie called Innocent Victims. And that painted this guy in California who murdered a mama and her also attacked her sexually and her two babies, and left one because it was too young. That baby almost died of dehydration. Left them to die. He had Ricky Schroeder was cast in a movie of his life. Tim Hennis was his name. And it was all about, so he got convicted, and Elizabeth Loftus, who's a memory expert, who's pen pals with Jerry Sandusky, among other things, has never met a killer or a sexual predator that she didn't think was innocent, and has put her ideology all over our schools, higher education schools. She said that these were the two worst eyewitnesses she'd ever seen. So she got a second trial. He got a second trial, and he got his conviction overturned. And what happened in the meantime is that DNA was developed. And it was all about the innocent victims. Starring Ricky Schroeder, was all about his wrongful conviction and how he was really a victim too. See how it's called Innocent Victims? This is very much what Karen Reed has now aligned herself, has stolen the moniker Justice for John O'Keefe. Very much what Karen Reed has done. But anyway, what happened was DNA came about, and they found his DNA inside Katie Eastburn, the victim, the mama. And he was tried militarily and is on military death row. Yet the you can watch it on the YouTube, Innocent Victims with Ricky Schroeder. So Karen Reed is working very hard to cement her false narrative in the public domain, and at the same time, we have everyone who knows the details about Karen Reed's guilt, including the witnesses. They're not speaking out publicly. They're speaking out to journalists who are taking bits and pieces. And there was a piece from Fox News today. I wanted to show it to you, and then I'm going to have some things to say about it. It's just not an effective strategy to complain that you've been harassed and feel sorry for us. But here are some pictures of us at a wedding where poor us had to hire security. We're all rich enough to hire security, but it was really tough in our ball gowns, in our wedding attire. It's really tough for us. Somebody should do something about this. And this is a attitude that Karen Reed has never had. Karen Reed has always taken control of the things that she can control, known her case, helped her lawyers, and amassed all her resources, right? All her resources to help herself. This is not what's being done on this side of the fence. They're expecting other people to do it for them, and then they're putting their trust into people. And this is a theme that I've seen with people who get out of cults or who have been trafficked, is they get away from their abuser and they run right into the hands of someone else who's just as abusive or just as bad or just as coercively controlling. So the witnesses in this case are running to people with their own agendas, who have their own dark personality character traits, and they're not recognizing it because they're so desperate to have support. Does everybody get? Is everybody with me? I hope you're with me. I hope I'm making myself clear. So it'll make more sense as I get it. Let's get into this article. It's just such a bad look. Like, Karen Reed keeps amassing more and more strength as this side makes more and more mistakes. And it's amazing to watch, sad to watch, and it's a very helpless feeling. So I'm going to try to just put out my ideas. Hope someone's listening. I'll say it again. If anybody wants to talk to me behind the scenes or on the air, I do have experience with innocence fraud campaigns. And if you're expecting someone else, the government, there's someone else to do it for you, you got to stand up for yourself. No one feels bad when you're being bullied. So you say you're being bullied in a very vague and factually unsupported way. I'm not saying it's not happening, but we certainly haven't seen the evidence of it. And it would be a good idea to put that out into the public domain. What's that Justice for John O'Keefe website for? Again, get debunking 10 free Karen Reed talking points up there with support to the actual record. Why is it such a useless website? It's like a vanity website. It says it's supposed to be getting justice for John O'Keefe, but it seems to be about promoting other people's websites and work. Get the facts out there. Karen Reed lands lucrative book deal while witnesses face continued harassment after acquittal. O'Keefe's niece and nephew, who he took in after their parents died, are orphaned for a second time. Reed has a book deal and a TV series about her saga in the works, but she's also facing a wrongful death lawsuit, which requires a lesser standard of guilt to hold her liable. And she might win that if things keep going this way. Her civil team filed a motion to dismiss earlier this week. An outside investigation by the FBI found no alternate suspects and dispelled allegations of corruption leveled at local and state police. But prosecutors and investigators who led the case are facing a reckoning. The Albert family, former owners of the property where Reed and 2 other women found John O'Keefe. They didn't find John O'Keefe. Reed took them to where she knew John O'Keefe was. 2 women found John O'Keefe, but Karen Reed certainly didn't find him. I mean, how do you find something where you know where he is? Under the ruse, led 2 other women under the ruse that she was looking for John O'Keefe under a sheet of snow, just celebrated a wedding. Jennifer McCabe, a key witness in both of Reed's trial and one of the women with Reed that morning, is the bride's aunt. Family, okay? At the wedding, attendees pitched in to hire private security after Reed supporters allegedly circulated the venue online. Well, what happened? Did any Reed supporters show up? Because now you just look paranoid. Local police made their presence known too. A marked SUV was parked at the foot of the church steps. Well, that would be nice if we all could have even pitched in to afford that. We know Jen McCabe is pretty well off, and she looks beautiful there, but not a great look when you say things are going so well, and here's me looking glamorous. It's not my own narcissism that wants this picture out there. This is a terrible look. Someone's got to say it. I'll face the heat. You know, get ready for the comments now. You're just jealous. You're just jealous. Blah, 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 blah. Sour grapes. I don't know what. And that's what I'm going to get now. Carrie Roberts, a friend of O'Keefe who was present with McCabe and Reed when they found his body, told Fox News Digital she is among the witnesses facing an ongoing harassment campaign. How? How? Tell us how. Is it just mean things said on the internet? Sadly, they have a right to, on a public road, to go dance in front of the O'Keefes if they want to, or write mean things on the internet. It's not the UK. Mean things are going to be said about you. Talk about the harassment in real terms. Along with the Alberts, the McCabes, and the O'Keefe's immediate family. I don't know why they're making Jen McCabe a villain, she said. Oh, wait, hold on. Carrie Roberts, who is not media ready. She may still be too traumatized by all of this, but she's not media ready. Talk to someone like me. I'll edit it out, but this is not a great look. A friend of the O'Keefe's who was also present with McCabe and Reed when they found his body. They didn't find his body. Again, and this is the message that Carrie Roberts keeps putting out, that somehow Reed didn't know where he was and was hysterical. Not true. They didn't find his body. When Reed, how about this? I'll rewrite it. When Reed, the psychopathic criminal liar, performed a hoax and pretended to look for him when she knew right where he was all along, when she led us along a wild goose chase, when she knew where to find him all along, told Fox News Digital she is among the witnesses facing an ongoing harassment campaign, along with the Alberts, the McCabes, and the O'Keefe's immediate family. I don't know why they're making Jen McCabe a villain, she said in a phone interview. All she did was answer the same phone call I did. And I think she means the same kind of phone call I did, but it wasn't the same phone call. Karen called her. She didn't call Karen. It's so stupid and bizarre. It's not stupid. This is a thing that this side does. I hear people calling Paula Prado stupid, the juror. She's not stupid. She's very smart. She's a con woman, but she's very bright. It's like anything we don't like, we're just going to call stupid. It's very childish on this side. We're going to call people stupid. We're going to attack their looks. It's not effective, and it's childish, and it's off-putting. All she did was answer the same phone call I did. Karen called her. She answered the same kind of phone call I did. Karen called her. She didn't call Karen. Called her. What? Why did she call her? Because she needed an audience. I don't think it's really set in with these witnesses. She wasn't frantic. She needed an audience to discover John, and she needed more characters to envelop into her story, and it worked. As I predicted, it worked. Go back to I hit my boyfriend with my car song. Everything I said in that song came true. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. It worked. Her innocence fraud campaign is her biggest hit yet and her biggest moneymaker. It's so stupid and bizarre. The victim's mother, Peggy O'Keefe, is dealing with harassment of her own, including a woman seen dancing on video at the foot of her driveway after Reed's acquittal. Roberts said the Norfolk District Attorney's Office told her to stop contacting their witness advocate after the trial because they're not witnesses anymore. You're on your own. You are on your own. You're no longer a witness. Even as strangers continue to throw things at her house, call her family murderers in the supermarket, and mock her children. Put those things in the public domain. If you have video of it, if you have a recording of it, put them all in the public domain. We put our asses on the line for 3.5 years, 2 trials to help the state of Massachusetts, and you're not going to help us when we're being harassed? No, they're not. Do you know how entitled you sound? It's not worth it to put my family through ever again and not to be protected at all. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. So I thought you did it because you wanted the murderer held accountable for her murder of your friend John O'Keefe. I thought that's why you did it. And you're not going to testify for the civil trial now? Is that what you're saying? You sound like a child having a tantrum. There's an ongoing, I'm sorry if this is harsh, but somebody's got to say it. And I know I'm not the only one feeling this way. I hear from people behind the scenes. There's an ongoing witness intimidation case against Aidan Carney, a Canton blogger who goes by the name Turtle Boy, and he might win his cases too. I'm not convinced he's going to be sent to prison or convicted of anything with articles like this. But while Roberts is not one of his alleged victims, she says she faces rude comments and other harassment from random members of the community. Well, being mean, I mean, it's really not illegal to be mean to someone. When there's a pattern of harassment over and over again, then you're talking. But a mean comment here and there, you're gonna get. After baseball games, kids on the team opposing her son might tell him free Karen Reed while lining up to shake hands, she said. She's filing a complaint against her mailman who allegedly muttered a vulgarity into her doorbell camera when he saw a Justice for John O'Keefe sign at her house. Now she just sounds like a Karen. You know? Now she thought this would make people feel sorry for her. I don't condone this kind of behavior. Now someone else delivers her letters. My message to people is don't ever be a witness. So don't ever do your civil duty. Don't ever stick up for your murdered friend. What a great message to put out. You sound childish, immature. If this happens to you, you're not going to be protected at all. and nothing about Karen Reed's guilt. Reed's lead defense lawyers, Alan Jackson, returned to Los Angeles in time for the 4th of July holiday, where he was seen cruising in a Shelby Corba replica powered by a 351 stroker he describes as a fire-breathing dragon. So he's having a good time in his fancy sports car, all his blood money he's made defending guilty people. It's taking a while to come down, he told Fox News Digital, but I'm slowly getting back into my rhythm. He already has another deadly crash lined up. The defense of Frazier Bohm, a 22-year-old from Malibu facing 4 counts of murder in a high-speed wreck that killed 4 sorority girls from Pepperdine University in October 2023. Bohm is due back in court next month after Jackson asked for more time to prep a defense for his client. Michael Proctor, a former homicide detective with the Massachusetts State Police, lost his job but may still resurface in the upcoming murder trial of Brian Walsh, who is accused of killing his wife Anna outside Boston. Her remains have not been found. Oh, that sounds like a great guy. Proctor worked that case too, and Walsh's lawyers have argued his presence tainted the investigation. Did he write mean texts about Brian Walsh or Brian Walsh's wife? That trial is scheduled to kick off in October. State police fired Proctor after he sent lewd texts about Reed to his friends. Lewd and sometimes right on the money, officially faulting him for sharing law enforcement sensitive information with friends, civilians. It was not a great look. And for drinking on the job, his former supervisor, Yuri Buchanan, has also been reassigned in the wake of Reed's second trial out of the homicide unit in Norfolk County into an administrative post in Boston, according to Boston 25. Reed's defense alleged a cover-up by state and local police. See, once these innocence fraudsters, you get brought up in one case, then every case that you've ever done, they'll try to create a pattern and practice that anything else that you've touched is unreliable, and it's nonsense. So they succeed with one case, then any officer who's been involved in another case, all the evidence is immediately suspect, and it's a real windfall for defense attorneys. Reed's defense alleged a cover-up by the state and local police, alternatively insinuating they got lazy in the investigation and failed to do a thorough job or outright framed her. It could have been a better investigation, but okay. Hank Brennan, the high-powered defense attorney, they underestimated Karen Reed. They thought Karen Reed was going to stand up and said, I did it. They totally did not see her for the psychopathic, malicious liar that she is. Hank Brennan, the high-powered defense attorney hired as a special prosecutor to lead Reed's second trial, reportedly raked in more than $550,000 for his work. My understanding was that his work was capped at $250,000. That was the first reports, something like that. So I don't know if he put a bill for all this, so he'll get the max. I don't know. I don't know if he's actually going to be paid all this. According to the Boston Herald, I did read that article, but I'm confused by the former reporting and now. That's a ridiculous sum for how many mistakes he made in that trial. I thought he was good. I thought his opening statement was great. I thought his closing statement was great, but he talked about something that never happened. Karen Reed guiltily hanging up on Carrie Roberts never happened. She called Michael Camerano. She called Catherine Camerano. And then she called Carrie Roberts. But she never hung up on Carrie Roberts like that guiltily or Jen McCabe. I mean, that's a reasonable sum for a private lawyer, said retired Massachusetts judge and Boston College professor Jack Lew. And it's a real problem when you lie as a prosecutor because you have the whole weight of the state behind you. You can do those kind of things. You can change narratives when you're a defense attorney, but you really can't when you're a prosecutor. You're expected to stick to the facts. There's a reasonable sum for a private lawyer, said retired Massachusetts judge and Boston College professor Jack Lew, but also much more than a deputy district attorney on state payroll would have made, probably $130 annually. That's like around, I think, what Adam Lally makes. And Adam Lally picked the jury much better, you have to say. Not saying it wasn't more challenging the second time around, but Adam Lally got a better result than Hank Brennan ultimately. Brennan put in long days and likely worked through weekends while keeping his private practice open at the same time, he added. Is there any evidence that he had any other case going? And while in a rare public statement, he slammed the prevalence of witness intimidation and apologized for not securing a conviction. O'Keefe supporters indicated they appreciate his work on the case. The jury pool was completely tainted, is all I can say. Well, I don't know if it was entirely tainted, but certainly Paula Prado and those kind of jurors would have their sway, have a lot of influence over less sure jurors. Hank did so much work. He was a genius. I think that's a little over the top. Kerry Roberts, he really was. Nobody could have gotten it done, which is wicked sad. So wicked sad. So wicked is a colloquialism of that area, Boston, Mass, for those that don't know. So wicked sad. Yeah, terrible. That's what I have to say. Not a good look. So I think the witnesses would be better off. You cannot expect other people to do it for you. Karen Reed didn't. She learned her case. I would suggest you learn the case, put the facts out in the public domain. And if you saw my last episode, very few people did, but I talked about Kerry Roberts getting her being the weakest link. And ultimately, what I concluded was that, yes, indeed,
Are the weakest link. Goodbye. You are.
yeah, you are the weakest link. You know, she was the weakest link. But this is not going a positive direction. They keep expecting, you sound entitled and spoiled, and I don't think they are, but that's how it's coming across. And they've put out, if you saw my last episode, so on the Justice for John O'Keefe website, the new thing is to blame Michael Morrissey, the district attorney in Norfolk, for not protecting them, but they're no longer witnesses. So it's no longer witness harassment. I love people saying that my criticism of Paula Prado is witness jury harassment. First of all, there's no such thing as witness jury harassment. But secondly, they're trying to get a bunch of us, charges for a bunch of us. Once you put yourself out into the public domain and you dox yourself, and you can face public scrutiny. But what I see is people just criticizing her looks or her intelligence. There's nothing wrong with her looks or her intelligence. She's very smart. It's just like a very childish way to put down anything you don't like. It's dumb. It's ugly. And it's made this side look very bad. But again, what I see is when people who've been in cults or have been trafficked or have had some kind of trauma, like the witnesses have in this case, tend to run to people who have their own agendas and are just as abusive. And this witnesses seem to not recognize that they were targets of a psychopath. And they seem to run into the arms of someone else who just self-describes as a sociopath with her own agenda, with her own hatred of Turtle Boy. And that's what it's really about. It's not about you. She's just using you to get her revenge on Turtle Boy, and she always loses. I think Turtle Boy's going to walk away with everything. Bigger deals, more money, and no conviction. I mean, somebody's got to say it. That's the way it's going now. Can it turn a different direction? Yeah. But that's the way it's going now. Doesn't look great. So I say this to try to help. Get your evidence together. Get a timeline together. Realize where you've gone wrong in your testimony. For example, let me just show you one thing in Carrie Roberts' testimony. I'm going to go over just one thing. But here's a good example. So later that day, Trooper Matthew... Hold on one second. Let me get a better version for myself. This is really hard to read. Sorry. I know you guys may be able to read it, but I'm having trouble reading it. So let me pull it up here so I can actually... This isn't a great copy either, but okay. Later that day, Trooper Matthew Dunn and David DeCaro interviewed Miss Carrie Roberts. Ms. Roberts stated to them that approximately 5 a.m. she received a call from the defendant stating that John did not come home. It was snowing and she was worried. The defendant further stated to Ms. Roberts, "John's dead. Carrie, I wonder if he's dead. It's snowing. He got hit by a plow." First of all, that sounds like you mixed up a lot of different things into one sentence, but I get it. Ms. Roberts got dressed and left in her vehicle, eventually meeting the defendant at Ms. McCabe's home, where she observed the defendant to be hysterical. Or acting hysterical. How about that? Acting hysterical. Does she really think Karen Reed, who stayed poker faced, no emotion through the whole trial, even when autopsy photos of John O'Keefe were shown, was really hysterical then? I don't think so. She doesn't get that was all a hoax, that was all a ruse. She doesn't get that she was fooled. She doesn't get that she was all fooled by Karen Reed. I know it's a hard thing, but if you're looking for the sucker, it's the person who's saying, "I can't be fooled," or "I wasn't fooled, can't be fooled, not me." That's the sucker. Ms. Roberts stated, "We've all been fooled by people. Certainly I have. People can be very charming that have really dark personalities. It's part of life to say, oh, I got fooled. I got pulled in. I'll get fooled in the future. It's just part of life. I try to learn from my mistakes and move on." Ms. Roberts stated that she believed the defendant was still intoxicated in the morning. Watch Free Karen Reed clip that and go, see, she's admitting Karen Reed is she's really innocent, and it was a 50-plus person conspiracy. And all of Karen Reed's contradictory and incriminating statements that she made about herself, they all don't matter. Okay. None of the evidence matters. It was a giant conspiracy. Here's Roberta admitting that they were dog bites, right? Something like that. And had told her that she did not remember last night. Ms. Roberts reported the defendant as stating to her, "I was so drunk, I don't even remember going to your sister's house last night," referring to McCabe's sister. So I think this is something that she heard from Jen McCabe, and she's repeating, as you do. But we know that Karen Reed said this to Jennifer McCabe. But here Carrie Roberts is taking it on as her own evidence. This is one of the reasons why Karen Reed's defense and her innocence fraud campaign, because you can't separate them, were effective. because they did talk to each other, and in some ways they took on pieces of each other's memory to fill in the blank. They're traumatized. Karen Reed, psychopath who has none of these deep feelings, breezed through this kind of stuff. Thanks, Melina. Keep an eye on Sarah Grace Patrick, 17 years old, charged with shooting and killing her mother. Okay. And stepfather in Carroll County, Georgia, apparently took to TikTok to gain sympathy. Oh, maybe she'll be another Marty Tankliff. maybe she'll get convicted, get her conviction overturned on a technicality in which they write, there are choice not, and then the state will choose not to retry her, and then write, this should no way be looked at as that this defendant should no way be looked at as innocent, like Marty Tankliff, and then sue everyone and win in our civil courts where they could be very easily manipulated. Bar of evidence is much lower. Get some really good lawyers, and then become a lawyer and get an exonerated license plate. Maybe she'll go that way. Sarah Grace Patrick, thank you. I will look at that. Thank you, Melina. So sorry. I don't mean to be... It's just very hard to watch people. I don't like being critical, but it's really hard to watch there be so little pushback to Karen Reed's innocence fraud campaign, and when there is pushback, it is done so badly that it only aids Karen Reed. It only strengthens her position. And Aidan Carney is recognizing it, being the psychopath that he is, and is eating it up. He says, we're just taking a line from Trump's book. He's saying we're just going to keep winning and winning and winning. We're going to, remember when Trump said we're going to get so tired of winning? That is very much like so just a note here, hold on, let me just show you this one more time. So Alan Jackson, when he's shown in that car, reminded me. So here he is in his blood money car. And I believe he's with his brother-in-law. That Innocence Fraud Watch did a blog about the defense in case against assailant of lawyer Alan Jackson's brother-in-law. So did Alan Jackson's brother-in-law, did they run with the dog bite theory when he was hit by a car? He was in a car accident. He was struck before by a car just after midnight. Looks like those might be dog bites on his arm there, on his hand there. Maybe there was no collision. Tell Alan Jackson and his brother, no collision, no collision, no collision. That Alan Jackson's brother-in-law, Krikor Kasabian, was struck by a car just after midnight on October 1st, 2021, in the area of Chevy Chase Drive and Glen Oaks Boulevard, right outside his home. Kasabian was right outside his home when he was struck, and his wife heard the collision. But did she hear a collision? Maybe she heard a pack of buffaloes storming or some other wild animal and ran out to help him. His sister, Lisa Kasabian, said. That's Alan Jackson's wife, I believe. Her brother, who remains hospitalized in the ICU in critical condition, was severely injured. His right arm was severed at the shoulder. Both his legs were shattered, and his spine was fractured and dislocated. He has undergone 3 surgeries in 13 days and has many more surgeries in his future, she said. It was nothing short of a miracle that my brother is still alive, but he will never be the same, she said. None of us will. Okay, and then this man was arrested. They arrested a 19-year-old man who they believe struck and significantly injured him. Maybe he can get Alan Jackson to defend him. Clearly, those are dog bites on his arm, right? Dog bites? Don't they? Don't those wounds look like dog bites? So, more questions for Carrie Roberts, just like a few other things she could clear up. So, I don't know if she's aware that she's putting out this kind of misinformation. The Five Stones intelligence report is wrong. Justice for John O'Keefe website has misinformation. Their timeline that's never been cleared up. Did you? Oh, so this is a article by Innocence Fraud Watch. Further questions for witness Carrie Roberts from cop killer Karen Reed murder trials, including Mama Llama. Okay. False claims about the 5 o'clock on the dot call in a July 13th, 2020. So this article asks Carrie Roberts to really try to correct the misinformation in the public domain. So how do you feel knowing there's so much information in the public domain, Carrie? Like, for example, with regards to what time you called Canton Police non-emergency line in relation to John O'Keefe, it's still not known. And regarding what exactly Karen Reed said to you during her 5 call. So it's either Carrie, John Stead, or John Stead, Carrie. Or was that it? Or was it something else? And have you reported this information to the Justice for John O'Keefe website or Kevin Lenahan or Five Stones Intelligence and asked them all to make corrections to the lie and misinformation they are spreading about you? So in a July 13, 2025 post on X, Carrie Lama made the false claim that Karen Reed told Carrie Roberts at 5 o'clock and 10 seconds that a plow hit John and he was dead. The harassment and abuse of the witnesses in the Karen Reed circus continues every day. All Jen McCabe did was answer the phone and try to help Karen Reed. She even told Karen to stop talking when she started telling first responders at the scene that she had hit John, trying to protect her, unaware that 9 months later, Karen would accuse her of masterminding a preposterous and implausible conspiracy. All Carrie Roberts did the same, even calling hospitals and police after Karen told her at 5 a.m. that a plow hit John and he was dead. Well, that didn't happen at 5 a.m. The harassment, either she said, Carrie, John's dead, or John's dead, Carrie. That's the 5 a.m. on the dot call. There is no talk about a plow until later. The harassment and abuse of the witnesses in the Karen Reed circus continues every single day. This is from the article I read to you just earlier. All Jen McCabe did was answer the phone and try to help. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is from her tweet. And it's just attached, that article. My apologies. Okay, facts matter. But the evidence in this case does not support the claim. Karen Reed told Carrie Roberts. All right, I already covered that. Carrie Roberts also testified that after Karen Reed had said one of the two versions of the above, Karen hung up on Carrie. Again, according to Cellbrite extraction reports of Karen Reed's call from January 29, 2022, this call lasted 28 seconds. It's likely these 28 seconds include an up to 20-second ring time. The standard ring time on an iPhone is 20 seconds. So this is really, sounds like maybe an 8-second call. However, this can be adjusted. You can extend the ring time in increments of 5 seconds up to a maximum of 30 seconds. Further, a reason Karen Reed hung up on Carrie Roberts appears to have been because Catherine Camerano was calling her at 5 o'clock and 38 seconds. So it's really important to correct the fabricated narrative. On April 23rd, 2025, a story by John Hayworth, Kentora Gray, and Megan Morani for ABC News headed key Karen Reed murder trial witness, Carrie Roberts, says victim has been forgotten, made an effort to correct the fabricated narrative surrounding the contents of Karen Reed's 5 o'clock call to Carrie Roberts. Roberts, who took the stand on Tuesday and will continue testifying Wednesday, is a critical witness for the prosecution because she was among the first people Reed called at 5 in the morning on 5 a.m. on the morning of the blizzard, trying to find John O'Keefe. Roberts told ABC News she then relayed to Brendan Kane, another longtime friend of O'Keefe, the contents of her call that morning with Reed. The first call was John's dead, then she hung up. Roberts told Good Morning America, though O'Keefe's body had yet to be found. Then she called back and said, I think he's got hit by a plow. However, the story was accompanied by a media clip of John O'Keefe's friend, Brendan Kane, who made the following statements. However, the story was when Karen called Carrie, she was histrionic, screaming, John's dead, John's dead. I think he got hit by a plow. Carrie, John's dead. So, as you do, he's combining two different calls, which may be fine in real life when you edit things, but when you're facing off against an innocence fraud campaign, all these little details are important because they can be used by the killer and the killer's enablers to spin a narrative. While Karen Reed may have appeared histrionic to Carrie Roberts at 5 a.m., so it's really important that you can say, look, no, I have the proof. I have the receipts, as the young people say. She had no problem just minutes later pretending to love tap John O'Keefe's parked Chevy Traverse in an attempt to create a defense for herself. Further, Karen Reed's innocence fraud scam will continue to win out, especially while all these people speaking out publicly on this case do not stick to the actual factual evidence of the case. You'd be better off making a timeline, getting your evidence in order for the civil trial, trying to suss out and really figure out what happened, and have a look critically at your part in this. You can't just hang on to the victim moniker and kind of sink into it. I mean, you know, the Karen Reed, Free Karen Reed says we don't have any quit. This side seems to have a lot of quit. We seem to act defeatist and ask other people to do things for us. And why aren't they protecting us? You're not a witness anymore, Carrie. You're not a witness. You're not going to have a witness advocate anymore. You're on your own. If it gets up to a criminal level, report it. That's all you can do. But nobody's going to feel sorry for you like this. Furthermore, Karen Reed's innocence fraud scam, or maybe a few people will, but the majority of the public really don't feel badly. Because you've largely stayed silent. It hasn't been made real to them. And you haven't been, as much as you've attempted to, because there's so many errors and so much confusion about what you experienced that night. You've really mostly aided Karen Reed when you say things like she was hysterical, she didn't know where John was. That all helps Karen Reed. I'm not sure if you've really reflected on the whole experience. It may be too traumatic. I get it. Furthermore, Karen Reed's innocence fraud scam will continue to win out, especially while all those people speaking out publicly on the case do not stick to the actual facts. So, I mean, we can look at this. If we can stand.
This Independence Day, All Family Pharmacy is putting freedom back in your hands.
I like to skip
right
through
now
these.
is buy one, get one free.
I found this place in the woods. We dropped Amber's notebook in it. No, I'm worried that...
Can you tell me what she said, what Karen told Carrie that morning when she called?
I believe she said, was that the first time she called John's dead?
Yes.
Carrie relayed to Brendan Kane, a longtime friend of John's, the contents of her call that morning with Karen Reed.
When Karen called Carrie, she was histrionic, screaming, John's dead, John's dead. I think you get hit by a plow. Carrie, John's dead. Is that right?
The first phone call was John's dead, then she hung up.
So she's trying to correct it. She's trying to correct it. But acting hysterical is a better way to put it. Acting histrionic. Insisting she didn't know where he was when she found him right away when none of us could see her. She led us right to him where he's hidden in a pile of snow. Remember Karen Reed's screaming? So what Karen Reed did and what this witness harassment campaign does, okay, is really when you scream. So what Karen Reed did to Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe is they were in the front seat of the car and she leaned in between the seats and screamed pretty much all the way there. Carrie, Jen, Carrie. So what does that do when you hear your name screamed? It gets you into a fear state of mind, a reactive state of mind. And this side has not ceased to be reactive instead of being cool, calm, and strategic. They've been in a reactive state, and they tend to, you want to lean on the strongest person. Well, who does the strongest person look like beside you? Often someone who will coercively control you, who may be a psychopath, who may have their own agendas at heart, because you glom onto them thinking they're going to protect you, and they're very confident. But ultimately, you have to do it yourself. And this whole attack on, let's get into the whole attack. This is the other thing I hear, and I will try to close this out for today after this. But the other part is this is what's on the Justice for John O'Keefe, this useless website. It's like a vanity website for it's so useless to everyone else. It's like a vanity website for people who want to promote their work around the Karen Reed case. It's not helpful fighting the Karen Reed's innocence fraud campaign. And it certainly wasn't helpful in convicting her. As you saw, she got acquitted in the criminal trials. So here is, everybody's complaining that Michael Morrissey should protect the witnesses. They're no longer witnesses in a criminal case. And he should press witness intimidation and harassment charges. If there is evidence to support that, we have some of it out in Aidan Carney's, in the search warrant for, is it Aidan Carney's phone or Karen Reed's phones? Correct. Does anybody know? I'm thinking, is that Karen Reed's phones where they outline all the communications between, or I think it's the search warrant for, I think it's Aidan Carney's phone. I'm waiting for you all to catch up with me. Let me know. I think it's Aidan Carney's phone. You know some of it, but put it out in the public domain if you have evidence of it. But here is me reading the Michael Morrissey statement on the free Karen Reed website. So let me go back just a second. Today, Justice for John O'Keefe website has this up, this statement. Statement on the Norfolk District Attorney's Office and the ongoing failure to protect victims and witnesses. We speak out today not only for the family and friends of John O'Keefe, but for every person who has ever made the brave choice to cooperate with law enforcement in pursuit of justice and paid the price for doing so. John O'Keefe was a beloved son, brother, and friend for over 3 years. What about uncle? This is like one of his most important role, not mentioned. beloved son, brother, friend, and uncle, guardian, caretaker to two children who had just been orphaned. For over 3 years, his family and loved ones, including Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, and Carrie Roberts, placed their faith in our legal system. They came forward immediately. They gave truthful statements to... See, that was their mistake. That was a big mistake all along. They said, oh, the courts will take care of it. No, they won't. Innocence fraud, that's what it is. It's a corruption of everything right and good in society. It's why I speak out against it. Murderers are made into victims, and victims are forgotten. And sometimes witnesses, grieving family members, are made into suspects and villains. Prosecutors who sought justice for the victim are painted as corrupt, ditto cops. But that's what you all did. You all stayed silent. You signed on to Netflix. I hear this Netflix, Gretchen Voss's pet project, won't be out for 6 months. She's got her own agenda. There's a good example of something not to do. A useless Netflix project that's going to be a big flop. I mean, we're going to watch it, but it's going to ultimately be a big flop. I mean, if you think that's going to cement this narrative in the public domain, someone asked me to put out a website like they have for the West Memphis 3 with all the facts and the facts of the case. We don't know all the facts of the case. So much isn't in the public domain. I'd love to put up a factual website for John O'Keefe. But we still don't have all the information. Still don't know about that plumber. We just still don't know are there any texts to that plumber on the phone? I mean, that's just an example. But that's the idea, like we'll all stay quiet like they did. Everyone who had knowledge of Karen Read's guilt stayed quiet and didn't give interviews. And 100% of that interviews, the subject should have been, Karen Read is a killer. Let me tell you about the evidence against her. But they didn't know the evidence against her. A lot of them didn't. Make sure you get your facts right, follow the case closely, and put it out into the public domain. Why you think she's a killer, how she fooled you, how she took you and acted hysterical and took you to you should have never gotten off the message, Karen Read is a killer. But instead they go, oh, the courts will handle it. I was screaming about this. I've been screaming about this for 2 years. I said, no. Speak up. They still need to speak up, but hiding behind other people and whining to reporters that people aren't protecting you is not a good look. It's just not a good look. You're not protecting us. You sound so entitled. Here's us at our wedding. Look, it was so bad for us. We had to hire security. I know that's not the way you meant it to come off, but that's the way it came off. While I'm made up to the max and looking beautiful, Jen McCabe's a good-looking woman. I was harassed. Were you harassed? We got all this security for nothing, it looked like. I mean, did anyone show up and harass you? Police. They offered their phones, their records, and their lives to scrutiny, despite the heavy costs they have paid to ensure that the only person they paid a heavy price. Their lives have been upside down. But speak out. Keep speaking out. And don't speak out to people who are going to edit your stuff and put in free Karen Read propaganda in the middle of a few quotes. Do longer interviews. I'll talk to anyone. It's not for me. Talk to anyone. Make your own YouTube site and talk about Karen Read's guilt. But don't expect other people to do it for you. It's like, why isn't everyone interested in my favorite subject, myself, and my harassment? Separate law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and Department of Justice, ever identified as a suspect, i.e. the killer, Karen Reed, was held accountable. She was not. And instead of protection, they were left to fend for themselves. So why hide it? Say Karen Reed. Call her an accused killer. The three people. Why are we playing games here? While Ms. Reed was surrounded by high-priced PR teams with online influences who waged a brutal, coordinated campaign of harassment, the Norfolk County District Attorney... I don't think there's been ever any evidence that Karen Reed had high price, besides for like a month or two in the beginning, high-priced PR teams. Is there any evidence of that? And if there is evidence of that, put it out in the public domain. But this is like this idea that it's also been put out, that she somehow paid for her crowds. I don't think she did. She may have once, when the film crew was there. But I don't think that those were astroturfed crowds at her. I think those are actually scary to think that many people will support a drunk driving, psychopathic murderer and compulsive liar, Karen Reed, but they will. She is treated like Lady Diana, and the people that know about her guilt, and that is the aim of innocence fraud campaigns everywhere, those who know about Karen Reed's guilt, who have intimate knowledge of her guilt, are treated like crap. They exploit your weaknesses. They exaggerate your weaknesses. So you have to lead with your strengths. And this is not your strength, to hide behind, authority figures and say they should, and point them. Now everybody's criticizing Michael Morrissey for not doing enough. If there is good evidence against Karen Reed that she harassed witnesses in this case and was behind that harassment, besides Aidan Carney's the discovery data for his phone. I hope I'm saying that right, and I hope that's not Karen Reed's, but I think it was Aidan Carney's. It's so mixed up. Put it out there. Put out what you have. Why are you holding this all back? And if there's good evidence of Aidan Carney overstepping his bounds and really harassing witnesses in this case, put it up on a website. Be your own PR agent. His office failed to act. Witnesses were stalked in their homes, slandered on social media, and confronted in public. Families were forced into hiding. Careers were impacted. Children were targeted. And through it all, the death threats, the lies, the intimidation, it appears to us that the ends... Okay, latex spouse has a good analogy here because she's a nurse. Like I tell my patients, you need to advocate for yourself. Right on. I, as a nurse, can only say you can only say so much to the doctor. You got to give the doctor your information, just like you got to give the lawyer all the best evidence that you have, not confused evidence, not corrupted memory evidence, traumatized evidence, good evidence. They can only be effective as the evidence they have. Did anybody remember Karen Reed in that trial? She was like a junior lawyer or a legal assistant, paralegal. You have to defend yourself, speak up for yourself, etc. Exactly. I'm not saying that anybody should be harassed. Nobody should be mean to other people. It is outrageous. But when you hide and then you complain and then you hide and then complain, you look like A, you have something to hide, and B, you look entitled. CDAO has chosen to leave their witnesses completely on their own. The truth is not complicated. The Massachusetts State Police and Norfolk County DA's office already know Yeah, I've been thinking about that line. I'd have to say that the truth has gotten complicated because Karen Reed has certainly complicated it. So it does take a lot of truth to uncomplicate it. Put out the evidence into the public domain. Put out all the, you know what would be a great place to start? Debunking 10 free Karen Reed talking points. Pick the most prevalent ones you hear. Butt dials, whatever else. Some of those calls I don't think even connected, but okay, put those out. Frostbite. Why didn't he have frostbite? Blah, blah, blah. Debunk it all. You can't break a tail light when you're being reversed into 20, you can't break your tail light. Put out that one. I mean, talk about the facts of the case. Put them out there. Who's behind this ongoing campaign? They have charged Aidan Carney. They have obtained a search warrant for Karen Reed's digital devices, an action that required a finding of probable cause. The same standard needed to bring criminal charges, and yet no further action has been taken. Well, we haven't seen that they've met. We haven't seen the evidence against Karen Reed as far as harassing witnesses, besides the fact that she says she talks to Aidan Carney on the phone every day, that she never came out and publicly said that don't harass witnesses. I believe she and her lawyers were behind it, and it was a strategy. We know that her lawyers were communicating with Aidan Carney, but because the judge, who's Aidan Carney's judge now in this new case, he's just listening. But there's a new bedrow letter. He is listening, and he seems to be in love with Aidan Carney's side. So he was the one who said to Hank Brennan, you can't get Aidan Carney's phone records, only Karen Reed's. That was an issue. And there was no push. There's like no fire. I mean, like what? Like, how Alan Jackson always came back and was like, what, Your Honor, reconsider, blah, blah, blah. Would always push a little harder. Our side immediately, like, just in court. That would have been a great time to push. I get that Hank Brennan wasn't feeling well that day, but that would have been a great time to push back. No, this is really important. Please reconsider. Put in a motion to reconsider again and express why it's so important. Talk about the symbiotic relationship between Karen Reed and Aidan Carney. But a lot of this stuff needs to be put out into the public domain. If there is more evidence, because we know that it talked on an encrypted app, there may not be evidence of it. What evidence is there that Karen Reed harassed and intimidated witnesses in this case? Put it out there. Now, after a trial that raised troubling questions about the impartiality of some jurors, including individuals with public connections to Ms. Reed's media machine. Is that true? Were there jurors with connections to Karen Reed's media machine? I don't know about that. Karen Reed has been acquitted and emboldened by this outcome. The harassment has only grown worse. Even as Ms. Reed and others appear to profit from the death of John O'Keefe, got to keep the blood money flowing, the people who mourn him continue to be hunted and humiliated for daring to speak the truth. This is not justice. This is not accountability. This is not acceptable. The families affected by this horror circus-like case deserve better from our elected officials. We all do. Well, the way Aidan Carney, if you caught his recent hearing, I don't have any. I just do not think Aidan Carney is going to prison. If you're expecting him to go to prison or get convicted of any of this, if he gets convicted of one of these charges, I don't think he's going to do much, if any time. If one of these charges he gets convicted of, the judge was so buddy with his defense team, and this is the same Judge Julian, who barred Brennan from getting Aiden Carney's cell phone records. Okay. So I said it again for those in the back. Yeah, I'm just not convinced. Okay. So let this be the moment when someone finally stands up. You're looking for other people to stand up without standing up for yourself. I'm happy to help. Talk. You can write to me at robertaglass23@gmail. We'll talk off the air or on the air or, whatever. I'll keep everything confidential, private, as I always do. But this is not the way to go about it. And you're only hurting yourself and you're empowering Karen Reed. So, as someone who's been studying innocence fraud, this is not a one-up. Certainly the witness, it's the first campaign that I've done pre-trial like this, and I think there will be more in the future, unfortunately, because it's been so successful. If you don't think people will start copying this format of harassing and attacking all the people who have the most knowledge of your guilt, you're sadly mistaken. This will be repeated. That's one reason why I devoted so much time to it, because I think it's really dangerous. So I agree with you that it's really dangerous. But if you're looking for someone in the public or the authority figures to fix it for you, it's not going to happen. You got to stand up for yourself. And you got to start talking out in arenas that with people who know about this fraud, who know what it's about, and who can amplify your message. But your message cannot be Karen Reed was bereft and totally saddened and in grief and hysterical and didn't know where John was and led me to. You're just helping Karen Reed. Do you get that narrative? I don't know if they get that they were fooled by Karen Reed, but okay. And they've run right into the arms of people who are really have their own agendas. Either they want their YouTube to go far, or they want to make money off the case, or they want to get back at Turtle Boy. People who have their own issues. And we all have our own issues, I get it, but issues that will interfere with your goal is what I'm saying, and will hurt you ultimately. So this is not a good look. I think that's what I have for today, guys. I'm going to keep it there before I start repeating myself too much. Does anybody have any questions or anything that I missed? Sorry. I knew this wasn't going to be a big, I thought it was important to say, I think, and I know I'm not the only one feeling this, but I would like to see this side get a little stronger. I worry that Karen Reed is going to cement her false narrative and make it American myth. And that's why I speak out about it. All right. Keep talking. So, but they have to be strong on their own, and their own evidence has to be strong. And we have this civil trial coming up. And if you think that you're not going to testify in the civil trial, I don't think you're going to be subpoenaed to give a deposition in that, whether you like it or not. In some ways, you don't really have much of a choice when it comes to civil cases, witnesses, whether you think it's going to bring more harassment. And then if you think just shutting up is going to bring less harassment, I think that's also a bad way to go. Because by staying silent, you're letting the narrative cement. So we'll see. Some interesting things may be headed down the pike. Hope so. All right. Doris says, I think you are correct, Roberta. Hold on 1 second, Doris. You just slid away from me. I think you are correct, Roberta. The John O'Keefe side needs to be proactive. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know if I got it all out in a way that was understandable. Other people have their own agendas, not necessarily helping John O'Keefe. Exactly. Can you hear Yeah, sure. I'll play my Marie Russell song just for a little break before and I'll come back. Hold on. Sure, I'll play my Marie Russell song for everybody.
Bored and retired, threw myself into a high-profile trial, thirsty for attention and admiration. I'm the best expert in the entire nation. Get paid to lie by the hour, making stuff up is my superpower. I see dog bites. I see dog bites. Just pay me and I'll tell you they are dog bites. Limp to the stand, decked out in polyester. Lay my lies on the court and let them fester. Puncture wounds in the shirt. Testified to a great deal, I'm certain. Hell, they'll say anything. It's the prosecution that's got the burden. I'm the best expert that's ever been. Who else can testify to a dog bite by a canine without a chin? Don't need evidence to state my claims. There's a lot of hounds in the world. One's got to be blamed. I'll do anything to get rich and get off killers. Pay me extra, I'll blame gorillas. I'm the best expert that's ever been. Who else can testify to a dog bite by a canine without a chin? Don't need evidence to state my claims. There's a lot of hounds in the world. One's got to be blamed. I'll do anything to get rich and get off killers. Pay me extra, I'll blame gorillas.
Okay, all right. There's a little little lightness. We needed a little lightness, right? Right, you got to go to the Doris. I'm with you, Doris. You are so right on for the right on. It's easier to let others go to the mattress just to fight our cause, but not as effective. Right, you got to stand up. I'll help you fight. But I wasn't the one there that morning. I wasn't the one. Karen Reed picked these people, and I haven't really figured out why. And she really wanted Catherine Camerano first, but she picked these personalities. She would have profiled them. She would have known their weaknesses. I mean, Jen McCabe said Carrie Roberts is a talker. Does that mean she was a gossip? Did she know that she would get things mixed up? And Jen McCabe, on the other hand, was a strong, strong witness. And for Carrie Roberts to say, oh, I've helped Jen McCabe, no, you didn't support her testimony because your testimony was all mixed up. Get your testimony in order. Figure out what happened. No, you don't mean to. I get that. I get there's a lot of trauma in this. And why don't you talk about some of that trauma? Why don't you talk about what it was like to try to give CPR to a deceased John O'Keefe, your friend, in the freezing cold and a blizzard? Do you imagine how awful that must have been? With this woman that you barely know screaming your name constantly and acting hysterical and putting on theatrics. How hard that must have been, and running around the scene. But trying to give chest compressions to John O'Keefe, and he's stiff. And why hasn't that been talked about? There's so much more that needs to be that can be expressed. But yeah, Carrie's a talker. That's what Jen McCabe said. Did she mean she's a gossip? Did she mean that she would repeat other things that she'd heard and get that mixed up in her evidence? Yeah. Karen Reed's waiting for the big money deal. Or she's staying silent. Or another way to look at it is she's staying silent for the civil case. She is preparing the forces. She's got Alan Jackson on board for the civil case as a helper. That's what this side should be doing. Assembling the forces for the civil case, getting everything in line and getting as strong case as we can. To us, her guilt is obvious. But once you have mainstream media and expert witnesses that people go, well, those expert witnesses wouldn't lie on the stand. Karen Reed's lawyers wouldn't lie. I used to be so naive. I used to think defense lawyers used to believe everything that came out of their mouth. They know what they're saying is nonsense. Alan Jackson knows in that opening clip, says it so convincingly. But someone else is responsible. Somebody else is responsible for the, he almost says her murder of John O'Keefe. But someone else is responsible for Karen Reed's murder of John O'Keefe. It's almost like that. It's almost structured, but he says somebody else is responsible for the death of John O'Keefe. Somebody else, it's a dog, we'll blame a dog, we'll blame a gorilla, we'll blame a pack of armadillos if the public will buy it. Free Karen readers are going to be the last people to know they're duped. They got duped and big time. To us, it seems obvious, but once you've poisoned the collective unconscious of the world with this nonsense. Well, she got off, didn't she? It must have been an iffy case. No, it was an overwhelming case. It was an overwhelming case. She had almost nothing to defend herself, but she got some ARCA. She lucked out with a federal investigation that found nothing, but gave her some good witnesses. She's done what this side has never done, which is developed and really exploited all her strengths. So I'll leave it on that. I think that's a good thing for this side to think about, each person to think about what their strengths are and to exploit them in this upcoming battle, because it's a battle and we cannot afford to be defeatist about it and whiny and blame other people and, oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Hank Brennan's a genius. We thought he's a genius, but he let us all down. But we got probably one of the worst outcomes we could ever get in this case. What a genius. I'm not saying he did a bad job. I'm just saying he didn't pick the jury very well. He made some mistakes. The hole in the shirt thing was embarrassing. The state should have been working as a team, but they weren't, obviously, because Adam Lally and Laura McLaughlin would have known where those holes came from. Marie Hartnett, you cut them. So, yeah, it's a good time to think about your strengths, amass the forces, and marshal your resources, team. That's what I have to say. I say this not with hate, not with anger, although I do have a little bit of frustration with this. I say it's more out of frustration than anger at any one person in this. But gather your strengths, and this is war. It's war. Think strategically, think smartly, and don't back down. Okay. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow at 6.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen, like John, you were my mom. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard now, the legal system I clown.